up against R.A. Dickey, who's coming off 7 consecutive quality starts.
Yeah, he's pitching the best of his career. He has won his last 5 decisions, and in his last 3 starts, the power knuckleballs produced 29 strikeouts. Defensively behind R.A. Dickey, Lexus Mets defense. That's the outfield that ended the game last night. Neuenhuis, Torres, and Duda. Right, of course, Quintanilla, Murphy, and Davis in the infield. And Josh Tolley catching the semi-day game after a night game.
Well, Josh Tolley had himself quite a return to action coming off the disabled list. David Wright and everybody else last night so happy for Johan Santana. It was a great moment in the dugout after Kevin had interviewed Johan on the field, the interview feeding the stadium. Eddie Coleman was doing his post-game radio interview with Johan, and here came David and a couple of his teammates squirting champagne at Johan in the dugout, which I thought was just really apropos.
It really was. David Wright had talked about how do you celebrate a no-hitter. He was thinking back to Verlander, what the Tigers would do.
Rafael Furcal will start things off for the Cardinals, who were no-hit for the first time in 22 years last night. Furcal 0 for 3 last night. He takes a knuckleball for a strike, and we're underway. Here's the scene last night in the dugout. And Burdick and Tolley and Justin Turner all on the scene. Wright plays the ground ball on the grass, throws out Furcal, and Dickey has the first of his 27 outs. So 1 out and nobody on. Now Daniel Descalso, the second baseman. Descalso hitting a .234 on the year. He's played about half of the time at second for the Cardinals this year. They've tried to figure out exactly which combination to go with at that position. Well, the weather conditions have really improved. The sun is now shining here at Citi Field after a day that started off with rain. Partly cloudy skies. Temperature in the mid-70s. It's turned into a gorgeous late afternoon.
Those thunderstorms seem to just part ways to allow Santana to have his gem.
And Dickey with a hard knuckleball sailing away gets ahead of Descalso 0-2.
This pitch changes lanes midstream. Starts down the middle and ends up with a backhand by Tolley.
And there's the first strikeout of the day for Dickey. R.A. coming off back-to-back double-digit strikeout efforts. The first Met to do that since 2006 when Pedro Martinez had back-to-back double-digit games. Keys to the game brought to you by Cadillac on the web at CadillacTristate.com.
It might be a tough act to follow, but R.A. Dickey has pitched as well as any Mets pitcher. Stay aggressive early in the count. We saw that last night from Lucas Duda against Adam Wainwright. And keep driving in those runs. 8 RBIs by the 3, 4, 5 hitters.
Matt Holliday first pitch swinging, pounds the knuckleball into the ground. Holliday 0 for 3 last night. I guess everybody was 0 for something in that Cardinal lineup. Carlos Beltran hitting cleanup today after batting second last night, waiting on deck. And Holliday strokes one out to right. Duda coming in fast, and he gets there to make the grab. Side retired. Dickey with a quick inning through just 7 pitches gets the Cardinals out, and the Mets come to bat with no score. Clearly it should have been called a fair ball.
It's pretty interesting. Johnson's reply today or last night, he said he saw the replay, still stuck to his guns, that he said it hit the outside of the line. That's what he saw.
Kirk Neuenhuis 2 for 3 last night, scored 3 runs, and the first pitch by Lynn is taken inside and low for ball 1. Neuenhuis made one of the 2 running catches in the 9th inning to help Santana on the ball hit by Alan Craig to shallow left field. And Lynn falls behind 2-0. There's your umpiring crew. Gary Cedarstrom, who had the plate last night, the crew chief over at third. Barksdale, Colbrith, and Adrian Johnson, who had the big call yesterday. And a fastball strike. Talked to Neuenhuis this morning, and he said in that situation in the 9th inning, all you want to do is tackle the ball.
Very good.
You know, he's a football player.
Yeah, if anyone can tackle the ball, it's Neuenhuis. Sorry, Gary. You know, it's interesting. We talked to Terry Collins today, and we asked him about Neuenhuis and how he's playing. He said, of all his players, you see Torres on deck, he's one of the guys, for a young guy, that can see what he did wrong and make adjustments on the fly.
Lynn strikes him out to start the bottom of the first. Well, this was in the ball game last night as he made that catch on Tyler Green. That was in the 8th inning as Quintanilla almost took his legs out, and then Kirk made the catch in the 9th on Craig. But it was nervous times for folks in that outfield. Andres Torres, the batter. Torres made the catch for the first out of the inning on the broken bat fly ball by Holiday that, off the bat looked like it might fall in. Torres said he was so amped up coming after the ball that he almost overran it.
Oh, geez.
And he tries to bunt his way on. He fouls it off.
If he overran that, he might as well just continue running in the dugout out and just leave Citi Field.
Well, if you overrun it, make sure it goes off your glove so they call it an error.
There you go. There you go.
Now the 0-2 to Torres, and it skips away 1-2. Mets have seen Lance Lynn before. In fact, if memory serves, it was the game we did from the Pepsi porch last year.
Yeah.
He came on in relief in that game, worked an inning and 2/3, allowed a run. But I remember that we were very impressed with his stuff in that game.
He'll sink his fastball. He's got a good slider, slurve, hard and late.
Slow ground ball down to first, and Matt Adams, not sure whether to flip it, finally does and gets the out on Torres.
But this big pitch that he has acquired when he was on the disabled list last year with a strained oblique was the cutter. That has made him this pitcher today with 8 wins and 1 loss. Good hustle over here by Lance. Big man now getting down that line.
6'5", 250 pounds. Of course, his first baseman Matt Adams is about the same size. So David Wright bats with 2 out and nobody on. David had a good night last night. Had a double and 2 walks. Scored 2, drove in 1. He's now scored 733 runs, which is just 2 behind Jose Reyes for the Mets' career record for runs scored. This year he's already set the club record for RBIs. He's now 2nd on the all-time hits list. He already has the doubles record. Sign him to 1 big contract and he'll own every record before he's done. And the breaking ball wide 1-1. Lost in the shuffle of the huge story that was Santana last night was David's declaration that he does not wish to negotiate a contract during the season. Had it not been for the no-hitter last night, those would have been the blaring headlines this morning.
Right.
Instead, it kind of got lost in the shuffle.
Sure, David's happy with that, to tell you the truth.
Unquestionably. Still leads the league in on-base percentage at .469. And gets rocked back. And he held the swing in time. Fielding Culbreth with a call, 3-1.
There's late movement on the pitches from Lance Lynn. This one surprises David up and in. Good call there by Fielding Culbreth. So
David in a positive count where he seems to have spent his season. And gets a fastball to hit and swings through it, 3-2. Lynn was a starting pitcher throughout the minor leagues, and while he had success as a reliever last year, the injury to Chris Carpenter has forced him into a starting role, and all he's done is won 8 of his first 10 starts. Not bad. Now he's had the best run support of any pitcher in the National League, but he's also pitched like an 8-1 pitcher. 2.54 ERA, only 48 hits in 64 innings. Maybe just the opposite of the person in the American League getting all the runs, Clay Buchholz, who has struggled. He's got 5 wins, but his ERA is close to 7. Had one of his better outings last night in beating Toronto, Buchholz. David drives one deep to right center field. Back in the gap goes Robinson, and it's going to be over his head, and it bounced over the wall for a ground rule double. Obviously not the first one. So David has his 19th double of the year, 2nd in the National League in 2 base hits. Well, that's where batting practice balls go to die, but now one in game. Fastball up, great top hand by David. 1 hop over the guys in the bullpen. You know, it wasn't as much as that he drove that ball to right field, that he was just a little tardy, but he has so much power. So David continues to rack up the 2 base hits. He's in scoring position with 2 out for the raging hot all of a sudden Lucas Duda, and the curveball from Lynn bounces for ball 1. Duda 3 home runs in his last 2 games, 7 RBIs in those 2 games. Last night a 3-run homer that helped stretch the Mets lead and give Santana a cushion. Lucas now with 8 home runs on the season to lead the ball club, 30 RBIs, 1 behind Wright. And Lynn pitching him carefully, 2-0.
Well, we always listen to Keith, who implores Lucas to be a little more aggressive, and he has been the last 2 or 3 games. In a night where it didn't look like anyone was going to hit the ball out of the ballpark, Lucas so strong did.
So Lynn quickly behind him, 2-0. Terry Collins was asked today about Lucas being more aggressive, and he said that's nice. But what's more important is that his timing is right. He's getting his foot down in time instead of being late with that foot so that his bat was lagging.
It's almost like if he doesn't get his foot down on time, he won't swing the bat because he can't get it in the correct position.
We've seen him swing 3-0 just recently, but he'll take this one for a strike, 3-1.
Is he still the only Met who has swung 3-0 this season?
I think we saw one other.
Yeah. Vinny Rottino?
Might have been.
Yeah.
Second straight 3-1 count for Lynn. He throws a curveball that misses for ball 4. So pitching very carefully to Duda with first base open. Instead, he'll take on Daniel Murphy with 2 men on.
Well, Lynn is asking home plate umpire Lance Barksdale where that pitch was. I think that pitch might have fooled Lance. Good 3-1 slider from Lynn.
Well, Duda certainly thought it was a strike. He lingered at home plate long enough, expecting to hear a strike call. So here's Murphy, 2 for 4 last night. A triple, 3 RBIs. Look at the last pitch from overhead. Certainly appeared to catch the corner. Murphy's got a 6-game hitting streak going, up to 305 on the year. And the first pitch breaking ball hit out to left, but right at Holiday. Now back astride to make the grab, and that retires the side. A double and 2 left. Dickey heads to the mound for the second. Mets and Cards, no score. Carlos Beltran leads off in the second against R.A. Dickey. There's the pitch breakdown for Santana last night. The changeup was certainly his best pitch last night, and he used it as a big-time out pitch as Beltran drives one to left center field, and there will be no hitter today for a Met. Beltran trying for 2, and the ball skips by Murphy, and Beltran's in with a double. So for the first time in the 11th inning of the series, the Cardinals have a hit.
Beltran made sure he kept this one away from the lines. A real good job of this knuckleball that kind of just sits on a tee there for Beltran, and nice short stroke, and still showing some good speed here after the throw from Torres. Beautiful strides, nice turn, turning up a notch in safely.
Beltran's had an odd year in terms of his extra base hits, as Freese drives one to left, chasing Neuenhuis back a couple of strides, and that's the first out. Beltran leads the league with 15 home runs, but that's only his 5th double, which is a kind of a strange ratio.
It seems like a strange stat for me, Carlos, who is a doubles machine, but what that tells me is that every single time he's hit the ball square, he's gotten it up in the air for a home run.
We're running the tab.
Oh, no.
We blotted out the 8019, and now we're up to 1.
So we're not even doing games now, we're just doing days. Winner counts.
Very nice.
Very good, guys.
People get spoiled in a hurry around here. Yadier Molina for 2 last night, and he hits it sharply, and David Wright got it, then kicked it, and everybody's safe. I'll give Molina credit for a base hit, but that's one that David had in his glove.
Yeah, it kind of startled David. This ball ripped down the line, catches it when it comes out of his glove, it hits the top of his shoe, and he kind of kicks it away, shins it away towards the line. Watch, drops out of his glove, hits his shin, and Molina safe.
So runners at the corners with one out for the Cardinals, and now Matt Adams, the first baseman, will step in. Adams 0 for 2 last night, hitless in his last 10 at bats. That's put on a shift against him, and Beltran edging down the line at third as that pitch is thrown. With Wright playing off the line, Beltran took some serious liberties there. Came about 35 feet down the line before Dickey threw the pitch.
Well, I think it's a good play by Carlos once. Now all he wants to do is get a big lead and make sure that he's ready for any pass ball or wild pitch from Dickey.
Could be a double play. Murphy to Quintanilla and back to first for 2. Dickey gets the ground ball he needs. Mets turn the 4-6-3, and the Cardinals are kept off the board in the second. With the shift on, the footwork a little different. Quintanilla getting to the bag, and the Mets turn it over. No score. You know, this is the 4th year that the Mets have played here at Citi Field, and it's a magnificent building with so many amenities to recommend it. Mike Davis leads off the home second for New York. And I think over the last few seasons, with the Mets struggling most of the time, the ballpark has been a great attraction. But I think that right now, for the second inning of a game, there's probably a greater percentage of the people in the building sitting in their seats watching the game than we've had virtually at any time since the building opened. And I think that what happened last night has a lot to do with that.
That's the single greatest moment in this ballpark so far. I don't know if this happened to you, but I parked my car and I was walking to my apartment last night, and a few people saw me and said, "Hey, way to go." I'm like, "What?"
What did we do?
I did nothing. Way to go. And that's how people feel, though. You know, they just I got more texts. I'm sure you did too. Emails from Mets fans from around the globe who are just glowing.
Well, I think in many ways, for the Mets fan base, last night was a very cathartic moment. And I think the fact, and it's total coincidence, but the fact that Adam Wainwright, Carlos Beltran, and Yadier Molina all played a role in it. I think a lot of the pain, as that's a shot by Davis in a right for a base hit. And the Mets have the leadoff man on against Lynn in the second. A lot of the pain of the last 5.5 years was exorcised with what happened last night.
You know, Terry Collins talked about it too, as you see Ike timing still a little in front, but that ball was rifled in the right field. It's interesting how Terry Collins addressed it. He said, last night gave us credibility. It was legit. And what it was for this team, Terry feels as though, hey, come and watch us play. We're a good team. Apart from Santana's no-hitter, R.A. Dickey got going. Got some young players that are playing well. It was an interesting comment by Terry.
But I think he's right, because it's the kind of moment that makes people snap to attention.
Yeah.
People who might have been looking from afar at this team and maybe taking a glance at the standings, maybe watching an inning here and there, but hadn't been paying full attention. It's like, whoa, what happened? So we'll see how it goes from here. But there's no question that there's a different life in the ballpark today that started around the 7th inning last night. Omar Quintanilla playing his 4th game with the Mets. Swings and misses. Quintanilla 5 for 12 since donning a Mets uniform. 25-year-old Lance Lynn, a rebel out of Ole Miss. And Quintanilla is hit. Got him on the left hand.
Boy, that ball not even close by Lynn. It was trying to come inside on Quintanilla, trying to cut this ball, and it just a tracer follows him right inside and catches him right on that forearm, the underneath part of the forearm. It looks like Quintanilla is shaking it off.
Well, he better. The Mets have already gone well into their depth chart as shortstop. From Tejada to Cedeno to Turner and now Quintanilla.
Wilmer Flores is playing shortstop down at Port St. Lucie.
He's hit a bunch of home runs. I know that. Well, here's Josh Thole, who could not have had a better day yesterday. Josh said it was one of the most nervous days of my life even before the game started, because here he was coming back after not playing for 3 weeks because of the concussion. And there was every chance that he wouldn't even have been here. He was kind of given the option of playing one more game in Buffalo before coming up, and decided, you know what, I'm ready. And all he did was have the opportunity to do what few catchers get to do, and that's catch a no-hitter.
And not a lot of shaking off at signs there the last 2 innings. Both he and Santana on the same page.
Second straight batter. Lynn's gotten ahead 0-2. Davis at second, Quintanilla at first with nobody out. And Tolley bounces one slowly. Lynn can't get it. First baseman Adams with the flip, safe, and the bases are loaded. Now that ball, once it got past the glove of Lynn in no man's land, it was going to be trouble, even with a guy like Tolley who doesn't run all that fast going up the line, and Lynn couldn't quite get back to the bag.
Well, this play since the beginning of time is only made if the pitcher can bend over and make that play. Just too difficult an angle to catch the ball, reach for the base, and catch the base all at the same time. Catch the base with your foot, I mean. A little late there. Nice hustle by Josh.
So on a base hit by Davis, Quintanilla hit by a pitch, and now Tolley with an infield single. The bases are loaded for R.A. Dickey. 3 hits this year for R.A. and 1 RBI. Mets trying to strike first here in the second inning. And Molina's going to go out and have a conversation with Lynn.
Wow, that's interesting. To me, a couple things are happening here. One, going to maybe talk about the defense, talk to Lynn about what he should throw. Discussions about maybe a suicide squeeze, which I think will never happen because the base is loaded. It's just a force at home. But even more importantly, Molina letting Freese know Davis gets too far off that base, I might throw one down there.
Now, Dickey called Tim Tuffle to him to have this conversation. So what's on R.A.'s mind, do you think?
Well, I think R.A. is just had some time there where Molina went out, just wanted to get everything straight.
So the base is loaded and nobody out for Dickey. And R.A. takes a rip and fouls it back.
Well, I know Kevin's done their report. R.A. Dickey bringing up that war club of 36, 37 ounces to the plate.
Could do a lot of damage with that. Mets have already had one unlikely player hit a grand slam this year. That was Mike Nickias. This would be a tad more unlikely. R.A. has never hit a big league home run. Puts it in play. Descalzo bobbles it, recovers in time, and then it's dropped by Adams at first. The run is in, and everybody's safe. A double mishandling of the ball by the Cardinals, and the Mets lead it 1-0. Put it in play and something good might happen.
That's right. They've been trying to find an answer to second base all year long. And Descalzo, let me tell you, is one of the best fielders on this team, but messes up the turn and trying to go to second base to get the force. And by the time he turns around, he spikes this ball into the ground on Adams.
They're going to charge the error on Adams. It's an RBI for Dickey. Mets have a 1-0 lead, and now Neuenhuis takes a strike.
That's a tough error on Adams. I know it's a ball that could be caught, but when your guy's so close to you and spikes it into the ground, very difficult play.
Got handcuffed on it. So now Neuenhuis with an opportunity. He struck out his first time up. First run of the game brought to you by Chevy, on the web at ChevyOffers.com. Mike Davis coming home with that run. He has the only hard hit ball in the inning. Lynn has thrown nothing but strikes since then. He was 0-2 on Quintanilla, hit him with a pitch. 0-2 on Tolley, who scratched an infield hit, and then 0-1 on Dickey, who hit the ground ball that resulted in the run. Now Lynn ahead on Neuenhuis, 1-2. So the Mets have done well from behind in the count in this inning.
No messing around by Lynn so far. He's just coming right after Nieuwenhuis with that fastball up in the strike zone.
Quintanilla now at third, Tolle at second, and Dickey the runner at first with nobody out. A run already in. And on 1 and 2, Nieuwenhuis bounces the curveball slowly. Adams is going to have to make the play on Nieuwenhuis as a run comes home, and it's 2-0 New York. So again behind in the count, the Mets put it in play, and something good happens as Quintanilla comes home with the second run of the inning.
Well, other than Davis, this inning hasn't been very punishing to Lynn. Another just topped ball down the infield line. Nice play by Adams with the tag, but another run comes in.
And a doubly productive out because it gets Tolle to third with 1 out. And Andres Torres with a chance to get him home without a hit. Torres grounded out his first time up. Tolle at third, Dickey at second. The middle infielders are back. They're ready to concede a third run in this inning on a ground ball to the second baseman or the shortstop.
Despite being no hit last night, that is the #1 offense in the National League. Corners pinched in, middle infield back for Mike Matheny.
And Torres takes the curveball for a strike, and it's 1-1. David Wright waiting on deck. Big batter here for Lynn, who has already seen the Mets scratch out 2 runs in this inning. Two balls and a strike to Torres. Well, the Mets have done a fine job this year of cashing their opportunities with runners in scoring position, and especially with 2 out. Here they've done it with less than 2 out. And Torres tries to lay off, but he went around. And Lynn gets even 2-2.
That's really been the pitch that has troubled Andres so far, is that little slider down and in. He's a low ball hitter anyways, likes that pitch down and in, but can't lay off the one bouncing.
Got off to a very good start after coming back off the disabled list, but it's been a struggle for Andres to keep his bat going. Especially from this side of the plate. And a bouncer to short. That should bring a run in. Furcal will go to first with it. So Torres with a bouncing ball with 2 strikes on him. Gets Tolle in with the third run of the inning. And the Mets, in very quiet fashion, have scored 3 runs here in the second.
Well, this is the epitome of killing them softly here by the Mets. But you got to appreciate the at-bats, not striking out, putting the ball in play.
Well, the Mets have had a hit batsman and then 4 straight infield grounders, all with 2 strikes, and they've all been productive at bats. Dickey, Nieuwenhuis, and Torres all driving in runs without the benefit of a hit. Now with a runner at third and 2 out, here's Wright, who hit a ground rule double to right center his first time up. David's 19th double of the year. Only Joey Votto has more in the National League. And a slider off the plate for ball 1. It's been a long time since I've seen an inning like this.
Yeah, right.
But against Lynn, who has averaged, 8.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, the very fact of having 5 straight hitters with 2 strikes, put the ball in play, is an accomplishment in itself.
It's like a pitcher's pickup game out here right now.
Normally Lynn is able to put people away with his curveball, but that has not happened in this inning. And the Mets have been able to take advantage. That and the poor fielding play. There he throws the fastball by Wright, and it's 1-1. It's got to be a very frustrating kind of a feeling if you're a pitcher. I mean, he's made 1, maybe 2 bad pitches all inning, and he's got a 3 spot up against him.
Yeah, the key though is Quintanilla. I mean, he has him 0-2. Not that you have to put him away, but certainly can't hit him.
2 balls and a strike to Wright. But as a young pitcher, first year as a starter in the big leagues, how do you shake off that kind of feeling?
I think that's the hard part for him, is that everything has gone his way really this year. All the run support, 8 and 1 in his decisions. Good things have happened all year. These things are gonna come around after a while.
And the curveball hit sharply, but right at Furcal, and he makes the play cleanly. Adams catches this one, and the inning is over. So Lind gets 5 straight ground balls, finally has 3 outs, and the Mets have 3 runs for Dickey. 3-0 Mets after 2. That's what you were talking about with Santana, sharing the moment and making his teammates the focus.
We, not I with Santana.
Shane Robinson leads off the 3rd inning, and like most of the Cardinals early in this game, swinging early against Dickey, who threw him a first pitch fastball. Cardinals putting the 2nd or 3rd pitch into play in every at bat.
That was the best baby since Austin Powers,
well,
wasn't it?
That's his line. Santana has delivered that line before, but never with as much meaning. Robinson hitting at 240 on the year, and that one eludes Tolley. 2-1. Well, not only did the Mets go longer than any other franchise in their history with that no-hitter, they beat the Cardinals record by more than 3,000 games. Whereas the Padres are moving up on the Mets' heels in that department as Robinson pokes a base hit into right, and the Cardinals have their 3rd hit off Dickey. So now the Padres have no no-hitters and no cycles. And everybody else has at least one of each.
You know, with fastball there to Robinson. You know, it's interesting. Robinson had an interesting at-bat last night off Santana. Remember, hit by the pitch, not called that by home plate umpire Gary Cederstrom, and proceeded to strike out.
It was the 2nd out in the 8th inning last night. Now Lance Lynn up there to bunt. 2 sacrifices to go with 3 hits this year, and he stabs at it and misses. 0-1.
I am not going to criticize a person bunting the knuckleball. I'm not going to say he's stabbing at it because I don't know how you would approach making sure that you get the bat on the ball. It's hard enough to hit.
So which is easier, hitting it or bunting?
I think it's got to be bunting, but because you don't try to get a hit, you're just trying to make a little bit of contact. Well, but got to be tough on a pitcher.
Lynn just got counsel from Jose Oquendo, his 3rd base coach. Let's see if he's swinging this time. And again, he stabs at it and fouls it off, and it's 0-2. You may not want to say stab, but that was a fastball, and he fouled it off.
Look at Jose. Watch me. Use your head. Here's the signs. Get it down. Jose, who was hot last night. I've never seen him angry. That's the first time. That was his teammate for a few years.
Jose Oquendo, who was a Met at age 19. Very few teenagers who's played as a Met. Lynn strikes out. 2nd strikeout for Dickey. By the way, we mentioned RA was the first Met since Pedro in 06 to have back-to-back double-digit strikeout performances. The last knuckleballer to do that, Phil Niekro, 1978.
Wow.
Had back-to-back double-digit strikeout performances. So 1 out and 1 out. Now Rafael Furcal, who grounded out to 3rd base his first time up. He takes the knuckleball for a strike. Daniel Descalso waiting on deck for St. Louis. I was thinking when this game began today, because the Cardinals were involved. Back in 1968, which was known as the year of the pitcher, the Cardinals and the Giants played a series at Candlestick Park in September. And on a Friday, Gaylord Perry no-hit the Cardinals. And then the next afternoon, Ray Washburn for the Cardinals no-hit the Giants.
Wow.
So I was thinking, maybe Lance Lynn duplicates Ray Washburn's history, but that exploded on him early.
Yeah, not to be.
When Perry threw the no-hitter against the Cardinals, he beat Bob Gibson 1-0. Gibson threw a 4-hitter and struck out 10. I mean, that's the kind of year that it was. Yeah. And when Washburn won, he won 2-0. And Bob Bolin, who had an ERA of about $1.50 that year, lost that game.
Gibson's ERA 1.12.
13 shutouts, I think.
Yeah,
it's not a bad year.
I can't even. To me, my brain can't wrap around it because I watched Gooden in '85.
Of course, in the other league, Denny McLain won 31 games that year. The last pitcher to win 30 games. Double play ball. Quintanilla stays back. Murphy with the turn, gets upended, but makes the play. 6-4-3, and the Mets turn their second double play in the last 2 innings. You know, we knew before last night that Johan Santana had the heart of a warrior.
Yeah.
I think we learned it for the first time, at least, you know, from a Mets perspective, on that second to last day of 2008.
Yes.
When on 3 days rest, he pitched that brilliant game against the Marlins to keep the Mets in contention, knowing that his knee was so bad that he was going to have surgery when the year ended. I think that was the day that had defined Johan as a Met until last night.
And really, there's been now 2 careers maybe for him. You know, it's just ironic to me that he probably 20 out of 35 times a year for the Minnesota Twins probably had no-hit stuff. And here at his 99th start and at 33 years old, pitches his first one for the Mets.
Duda takes it wide, and it's 3-1. Kevin Burkhardt is with us. And Kevin, I know that you know as well as anybody the role that Johan plays in that clubhouse and the absolute warm feelings that the other 24 guys had when it was all over.
There's no doubt. And I think that, you know, we talked about it, just what his presence on opening day meant on the mound for the team. And, you know, then it changed when he started pitching well. And, yeah, you could see it. They all wanted it for him. And, you know, he talked today to some of the media members just kind of as a follow-up, Gary. And you hit it, the heart, you know. As Holiday will corral that one. But Johan said, you know, there are a lot of questions about me and velocity and will I compete again. But I've got my heart, and, you know, kind of pointed to his chest, and that was ever so evident last night. You know, he also kind of compared it a little bit to his first Cy Young Award in 2004. He said, you know, when I won that, it was important to me, the team, and my country. And last night, you know, I knew it was important to Mets fans, you know, for the first time. He could sense that, and he said it on the field when I talked to him too, right after, without even being prompted about it. He knew the moment. I mean, it was him, but it was a lot bigger than just him.
There's Daniel Murphy. And I think what's also interesting in the wake of last night is how evident it was that not only Johan, but really all these players, you know, none of whom has been here other than David Wright for more than a few years, had a keen sense of what that game meant to this franchise. You know, players come and players go, and they don't always have that great sense of history about what has come before them. But everybody on that field last night seemed to understand that this wasn't just a no-hitter. And as if one could say just a no-hitter, it was something even more meaningful than that for this franchise.
Yeah, it was historic. And I think everyone on that bench felt it. You could tell that in the last 2 innings, every player to a man just locked in on every single pitch Santana was throwing. The anxiety of the players on the field.
Murphy hits one out to deep right center. Beltran going back in the gap. Will get there and run it down for the second out.
And what I found interesting is that after the immediate kind of scrum of players together after Santana got the last out, I found it odd that he then stepped away and all of the players went up to him and had their moment with him like it was a papal visit or seeing the Dalai Lama or whatever, and shaking his hand and having their private moment with him to reflect on just the, you know, historic night in this building.
You know, guys, the post-game moment for me, you know, and Gary, you're talking about how the guys knew. No one knew more than Mike Baxter. You know, the lifelong Met fan who grew up here and attended 1 million games here. And the post-game moment for me was him. Came out, met the media, could barely put his shirt on. I mean, he took a lot of time and great care just to put his shirt on. That's the type of pain he was in after that miraculous catch off Molina in the 7th. And, you know, he talked about the meaning of it and how great it was for Johan. And when everyone left, I went up to him. I said, listen, you're a lifelong Met fan. You know what this means. That catch will be replayed forever. And he said, yeah, that was pretty cool.
He goes right in there with Tommy Agee and Angie Chavez with that catch.
Yes, he does.
Ron Swoboda. And Baxter knew it. And you know, what struck me about Mike was, in listening to him after the game, you know, he had given up his body to make sure that Santana could keep that no-hit bid intact. And he knew when he caught that ball that there was going to be some serious impact. And yet he deflected all of the attention away from himself. It wasn't about him. It was all about Johan. And, you know, I think we learn more and more about the character of Mike Baxter every day. Curran taught him right at Archbishop Malloy, didn't he?
Yes, he did. He said the ball came back over his shoulder. And like you said, just reached out. He knew that he was on the warning track. Takes a peek, but it's too late by then. And just takes the full brunt of that hit.
1-2 to Davis is high. We're still waiting for the results of the tests, at least in terms of some kind of public announcement, because Mike had an MRI and a CAT scan today, and certainly hope that his injuries will not keep him out for long, because goodness, what he has meant to this team, just in terms of the magic that this team has put together. And you know, last night was the most magical moment we've seen in this 2012 season, but it's almost like it was the culmination of 2 months of unexpected moments for this team. There's ball 4, and Davis is on with a 2-out walk. And Baxter's been a big part of a lot of those moments.
Well, with Bay out and others hurting, you look to your other players, your bench players, to come off and give you production. None has done better than Mike Baxter. When he leads off, including last night, Mets are perfect, 6-0.
Got to get him back in there.
Yes.
And guys, I felt like after that catch, that was the first time that I felt since the Mets have been in this park that it actually felt like a home field advantage. You know, I really did. And David Wright even echoed that in the post game, just saying how it felt like home. And, you know, we're talking about maybe that was the moment that kind of starts turning Citi Field into, you know, the place to be.
There's Quintanilla. And, you know, Ronnie and I were talking about that a moment ago, Kevin, and I don't know if you can feel it from where you're sitting, but I can almost feel the difference in the ballpark today compared to where we were 24 hours ago, just as far as people in their seats, creating a buzz, paying attention.
Totally agree.
Quintanilla hit on the hand by a pitch his first time up, and he takes it wide, 1-1. Well, that's a good thing. You know, it's important to provide people with the other amenities that a spanking new ballpark gives you, but the most important thing is the fans creating that synergy with a team to create that kind of a home field advantage. And it's something that frankly has been missing since this ballpark opened, and if last night was what it took to get it going, that's a great thing.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the greatest memories I ever have of being a player, and we didn't do anything that season, but 1984, we won 90 ball games, and that synergy you're talking about, Gary, between the fans and that team. I remember the last game of the season, we threw our hats into the stands, which is kind of a little silly thing to do. It doesn't really mean too much. Well, it meant a lot to us, and it meant a lot to the fans.
Well, this is one of those building years. You know, you don't know what the end result is going to be, but what you know is that it's a team that the people who have been paying attention have fallen in love with. Homegrown players, scrappy players, great at bats, never giving up.
Local kid.
All that. 3-1 to Quintanilla, and he swings and misses at the fastball. Meanwhile, Lance Lynn has thrown 20 or more pitches in each of his first 3 innings. So the Cardinals starter began the day 8-1, has built a very large pitch count early in this game. 70 now, and he's not through the third. Now Davis will be running with 3-2 and 2 out. And Quintanilla down on strikes to end the inning. Second strikeout of the day for Lance Lynn. Mets strand 1. We're through 3 with the Mets up 3-0. So many mixed emotions for Terry Collins last night and again today as he wrestled in his mind for, 3-4 innings about what to do last night as Johan Santana continued to no-hit the Cardinals and his pitch count continued to rise.
He said a part of his non-decision went against everything he stood for. And once he said that, honestly, I was thinking after we walked out of the meeting with Terry that he is not only a manager here, but he sort of is like a caretaker of this franchise and this team. And I think that's how he feels, is keeping his players fresh, keeping them injury-free. And last night was a different deal for him.
Well, it was a torturous time for him. And I think we heard a lot of that today. He was so open and honest about all the machinations that went through his mind. He talked about as Descalso goes down on strikes. Third strikeout for Dickey. He's talking about how excited he was for Johan and excited he was for the franchise and for the fans. But he said at the same time his heart told him that he had to take Santana out because his pitch count was so high and because of the circumstances following his surgery. But at the same time, then back the other way, he said, it's history in the making.
That's
what
right.
could I do? As Holiday swings and misses. So at the end of the day, he said, Santana made it easy for me. He said, you're not taking me out. And that was when Terry said to him, you're my hero. Bounced toward the hole, and Wright makes the play and throws out Holiday by a stride, 2 out. And after the game, it was clear when Terry and Santana embraced on the field that there was a lot of emotion running through the manager.
You know, you forget out there sometimes he's in the middle of pitching a no-hitter, and he was unselfish enough that when Terry came down to him after the 7th inning, as you see the pitches by inning, 9 seems to be a current theme in the last 2 starts, 2 shutouts, of course, to go along with that no-hitter, is that the one thing when Terry went down there is Johan said to him, I'm going to finish this game, which took away the decision for Terry Collins. He no longer had a decision to make. His pitcher made the decision for him.
At the same time, when the game was over, and Terry said this morning, he said, I thought I had made the wrong decision. Yeah. And he said that Sandy Alderson talked to him after the game and ownership talked to him after the game, and they both said, don't beat yourself up about it. You made the right decision. And he said that made him feel better. And he said this morning he got a phone call from, of all people, Tony La Russa, who said to him, you made the right decision. Toley under the pop-up, puts it away, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Dickey as he gets Beltran on the foul pop-up to end the inning. So it was quite a range of emotions that Terry had to run through to get through the last 18 hours.
Gorgeous afternoon here in New York. The aftermath of the Santana no-hitter last night. Fans into it today as the Mets have the lead over the Cardinals with R.A. Dickey on the mound. And the guys were talking about Terry Collins last inning and how he wrestled with this decision all last night and how he was so honest about it today and his emotions and what he was feeling. I sat by the dugout for the last 4 innings of the game, guys, and there were a couple things that I noticed that I wanted to share. First of all, Gary, you talked about Santana telling Terry Collins that he wasn't coming out of that game. You know, that moment was interesting. Santana came off the mound. He had his glove with the ball in the glove. And when he got to Terry, he kind of closed his glove and tucked it under his elbow. So almost to go with his words were the actions that you're not taking this baseball, this glove out of my hand right now. And then in the 9th inning, there was really a sweet moment between Dan Worthen and Collins. And, you know, I could see it. I saw it on Collins' face as he watched in almost anguish. You could tell the excitement for what could be history, but also just worry, genuine concern about Santana as he paced and changed positions. 9th inning started. Santana's about to throw to the first batter, Holiday there. And Worthen comes over and kind of just does a gentle couple of circle rub on his back as if to say, it's okay, you're making the right call. And I just thought that was a really neat moment between two guys who want to win, who want to see history, but also cared very much about the physical well-being of that pitcher.
And Terry gave credit to Dan for really being his shoulder there and saying, hey, look, you're making the right decision. It's okay. And now I think the question is, now that the moment is past and Santana has accomplished this incredible feat and Collins allowed him to do it by pushing him beyond his set limits, the question is, what happens from here? And Terry's already said as Toley hits one toward the hole for Call with a nice play, but can he throw him out? Not quite. Toley has his second infield hit of the game. Toley's magical weekend continues.
Exactly. Well, just enough in the hole. We've seen for Call when he was a younger player stop and fire that ball to first. Probably doesn't have as much on the ball as he did when he was with the Atlanta Braves.
So Collins has already said that he might well give Santana an extra day or two. He's right now scheduled to pitch Wednesday in Washington, but the Mets have enough flexibility now with Miguel Batista eligible to come off the disabled list, Chris Young available after pitching 6 scoreless in Buffalo as Dickey gets the bunt down and Lynn makes the play to Descalso for the out. They've got the wherewithal to push him back a couple of days if that's what they want to do. But I guess the question is, Ronnie, for a pitcher, what does 134 pitches mean as opposed to the 110 or 115 that was prescribed for him going into that start. What's the impact today? What's the impact tomorrow? And what's the impact, do you think, the next time he pitches?
Well, it's almost impossible to answer this question. I think that if you're answering it from a person who's not coming off surgery, you say to yourself, one, it's an anomaly if it only happens once, and you go back to your 110, 115 pitches. If it happens 2 or 3 times, then it can really affect you. Now, that's a person not coming off surgery. A guy that's coming off surgery like Santana has, they knew this was going to be a project all year to try to keep him at 100 to 110 pitches, if they could. Well, last night they could not. I described it as the runaway train, and that's what it felt like for everyone involved. That being said, I think that the extra day is or 2 coming down the stretch. Maybe the next 2 starts he gets an extra day would be a good way to do it if they could. But this morning, as soon as Santana came in, and this is, he's thinking about we instead of me all the time, peeked his head in the office of Terry Collins and said, I'm fine and I will be fine, and went to get his work in.
Slow ground ball off the bat of Neuenhuis, and Descalzo throws him out. Tolle over to third with 2 out. Well, here are the words from Terry Collins about his decision to leave Santana in to throw 134.
Certainly I wanted it for him. I wanted it for the organization, all those people that were here tonight. But Brian, you just don't jeopardize the whole organization, this season for 1 inning. So we'll wait 5 days and see how it is.
You can certainly hear and see the emotion and the real torture that Terry was wrestling with in trying to make that decision. That was last night. And I guess we'll find out. As Terry said last night, you'll know in 5 days. And I would have to assume that when Santana pitches, whether it's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, as Torres skims 1 to third, that they will limit his pitch count and probably keep him down to 80 or 90 pitches just to be on the safe side. We've played 4 innings now at Citi Field on the day after, and the Mets with a 3-0 lead. Around the Majors brought to you by the UPS Store. We love logistics. Mets say goodbye to Chris Schwindin. He was claimed on waivers today by the Blue Jays. Former Met Fernando Martinez called up by the Astros. We wish him good health. Nick Punto had a good day. Felix Dubron with 6 good innings. Red Sox beat the Blue Jays this afternoon 7-4. And not pictured there, Dan Barr's Oakland Athletics snapped a 9-game losing streak and beat Kansas City this afternoon 9-3.
Wow.
That looks good. Can we get a couple of those?
Yeah, why not?
It is visor day. How could we tell? Well,
we got a astute sense of the obvious.
we got a memo.
Well, we
Fifth
did.
inning brought to you by Ford. Check out the best-selling vehicles with the best-selling values in America. Visit your Tri-State Ford dealers today. Well, Ari Dickey's made it look easy so far this afternoon. He had thrown 35 pitches in the first 4 innings. Allowed 3 hits, no walks, 3 strikeouts. David Freese fouls it back, and it's a ball and 2 strikes. We've seen Dickey dial his knuckleball as slow as 59 miles an hour today. It appears as though, and you look at those ridiculous walk to strikeout numbers the last 3 starts. It appears as though he has created new variations on his knuckleball, and you just saw one of those on that last pitch.
That's the one that he keeps that kind of explodes up in the strike zone. It takes off.
The updraft.
Yeah, it doesn't sink.
Out to left field where Neuenhuis is there and puts it away for the first out. So 1 out in the 5th. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Honda. Visit your Honda dealer right now for great deals. Only a Honda is a Honda.
Didn't have a chance to talk to RA because of the craziness of last night, but I'm going to try to find out how he defies sinking that knuckleball.
There's the very slow one, and he dialed it back all the way to 54 that time. He almost broke the radar gun.
Slow pitch softball. It's got to have a 16-foot arc.
Talk about under the hitting speed. Comes back with the hard knuckleball, and it's fouled off by Molina. It almost seems as though he has reinvented the art of the knuckleball.
Yeah.
I mean, in past years, watching knuckleballers, it would seem as though their goal was to throw the ball somewhere near the middle of the plate and have it break in some direction. And it looks like R.A. is going at it completely differently from that game plan.
Well, the first day he got here, I'll never forget that he said, listen, I have control of the knuckleball. I don't just go out there and haphazardly throw it and just hope. I know where it's going for the most part, and I'm really refining that. And you know, he's at the top of his game right now.
Throws the fastball and gets Molina to ground one to Murphy. He's thrown about 4 or 5 fastballs today. 7 in a row retired by Dickey. 2 out. Matt Adams coming up. Let's check in with Kevin.
I'm listening to your conversation, and I had this conversation with Mike Nickias the other day, and I know Toley's catching today, but Nickias said, I'm telling you, he's throwing a knuckleball now that seems like it's rising, you know, back there, and it is actually short hopping in midair. That's what it looks like to me, and it's difficult now. You know, the slow knuckleball is actually easier for me to catch, but the hard one is tough because you really have to just stay back until the last possible second and then fade with it. It's very, very difficult. But the one that is doing that short hop is just impossible to catch. So it's not only your eyes, guys. Nickias said he's seeing the same thing there.
As long as you can keep him away from rain.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, Terry even said yesterday that he was considering skipping R.A. if it was going to be raining today. I mean, they have realized what they've got here, and what they've got is an extraordinary weapon, and you certainly don't want to make it difficult for him and take that out of his hands, because the only bad day he's had this year was that soggy day in Atlanta.
R.A.'s like the Tin Man. It's the only time he has any problem.
Get him an oil can.
Yeah, exactly. Shane Robinson on deck. I will say, though, the rain in Atlanta for his start
struck him out.
Was extraordinary. It rained the entire time.
4th strikeout for Dickey. He's set down 8 in a row, making it look like it's child's play. Spinning one to get Adams. View from the Shea Bridge, where the view is good today. Mets with a 3-0 lead. David Wright leads off against Lance Lynn in the home 5th and takes a slider outside for ball 1. David double to right center in the 1st, grounds it out to short in the 2nd. Mets scored all 3 of their runs in the 2nd inning. The unlikely inning went this way: hard single by Ike Davis, Quintanilla hit on the hand by an 0-2 pitch, Josh Toley rolling one to the right side that went for an infield hit. That loaded the bases. Dickey hitting a ground ball to second, flubbed by Descalso, and then thrown low to Adams, who dropped it for an error. That brought in a run. Neuenhuis grounded out for a 2nd run. Torres grounded out for the 3rd run. Murderer's row. 3-0 to right, and he takes the strike 3-1. Yeah, there are all sorts of different ways to win games, and the Mets have explored quite a few of them this year. Bludgeoning has not quite been their pattern, although they've had some multiple home run games lately. And Wright fouls it back. But what's most stunning about this series so far is that Met pitchers have thrown 14 innings and thrown 14 zeros against the team that came into this series as the best offensive team in the National League. And the curveball inside, ball 4, and Wright is on with a leadoff walk. 3rd walk given up by Lance Lynn, and the Mets have the leadoff man on for the 3rd time in 5 innings. Now Lucas Duda, who's walked and flied to left 0 for 1. Shadows starting to become an issue with the 4 o'clock start. Probably more of an issue for the Met hitters right now than it is for the Cardinal hitters. I don't know, maybe it's easier to hit a knuckleball in the shadows.
When you can't see it. Just swing right down the middle and hopefully it hits the bat.
Well, Lynn certainly got unlucky in the 2nd inning. Gave up those 3 runs and had awfully good command of this game otherwise. But I think he's well aware of the way Dickey is dealing right now, and with Arias' pitch count so low, he's only thrown 50 pitches in 5 innings. I think Lynn knows he can't afford to give up anything else.
But he's going through the same thing that Wainwright went through yesterday when the lead was just 2 against Santana. He tried to hold it at bay, but Lucas Duda got him.
Well, you said yesterday in regard to Wainwright, it's going to be one of those games that keeps him up all night. Now, in retrospect, having gotten no hit, he had no chance to win the game anyway. But it was one of those nights where he had dominant pitches early in the game. In fact, Wainwright was quoted after the game last night as saying, early in the game, I thought I was going to pitch a no-hitter.
Yeah, he just went away from his curveball for just a split second and paid for it. He was trying to throw that cutter in, which Duda took deep for a 3-run home run. He was trying to kind of sink the ball away, throwing a lot of changeups, but it was his curveball, in my opinion, that he went away from just long enough for the Mets to put a couple aboard.
And that curveball was at its dominating best last night. Victor Marte up in the Cardinal bullpen, as Lynn is up over 90 pitches for the afternoon. And there's the breaking ball, strike 3 called. So Duda caught looking. Lynn has his 3rd strikeout.
Well, that's the breaking ball you were talking about earlier, Gary, that with 2 strikes, that's his put away pitch, and that's a backdoor one. Very good by Lynn. Comes right around the plate and catches that front part of the strike zone.
He's got the harder breaking ball he throws as well, but that pitch has been his bread and butter with 2 strikes. So now 1 out and 1 on for Murphy, who twice has flied out in this game to left and to right. You were talking earlier off air, Ronnie, about Murphy and his tendency lately to swing at first pitch breaking balls.
He just, it's interesting. That's a pitch that you're supposed to, as a pitcher, get an easy strike. The hitter's not supposed to swing at that pitch. But Murphy's faced so many breaking balls that sometimes it looks to me like he's looking for it early in the count. And it's not that he's making outs on him. He's delivering on that ball. Wainwright last night, a little curveball, get me over, and he hits it for a triple.
Yep, that was the first pitch.
If you're going to be a 300 hitter, you got to be able to hit breaking pitches. And Murph, one of the better on the Mets team.
Already has 60 hits this year, less than a third of the way into the season. And he lines one over short, and that's a base hit. Wright pulls in at second, and the Mets have 2 men on. So Murphy now has a 7-game hitting streak.
Murph's reactions to the pitch are amazing to me. He just has great hand-eye coordination, amazingly quick on that ball inside to be able to take that the other way.
So 2 aboard for Ike Davis, who has singled to right and scored a run and then drew a walk. Right at second, Murphy at first with 1 out. 3-0 New York in the 5th. Omar Quintanilla is next. Shortstop for Cal playing right behind David Wright at second base, so he can't get too far away. And the curveball wraps around the plate. It's 2-0.
The game within a game, you watch Molina shaking his head. If you're on the bench or your first base coach, Tom Goodwin, you have to watch the right arm of Molina. He will sometimes stick it out to let the first baseman know that, hey, I'm thinking of coming behind the runner. When you have a 2-0 count, your pitcher's behind a hitter, it's a perfect time to maybe take a shot to get your pitcher out of the inning.
Let me ask you a question, Ronnie. You've got a first baseman for the Cardinals, Matt Adams, who is clearly defensively challenged. Would that make Molina less likely to try that play?
I think it would. You know, he's been so used to having Albert there for all those years that they're almost were of the same mind, knew when that would happen. You see the pickoffs. Thanks, guys, for that stat. Very nicely done.
Earlier this year, they had Matt Carpenter playing first base, who's a much better fielder than Adams. Might have had better luck with that. And swinging 3-0, Davis fouls it off. You see just under his the chin part of his mask, I think you can see on that red part, it says Yachty. It's like Ichiro.
Right. Known by one name. Well, he's famous enough.
Like a Brazilian soccer player.
There you go.
There's a strike, and it's 3-2 to Davis.
Well, one out here, 3-2. Can't run the runners with Ike Davis up. The extreme vote of confidence, but not a good move.
And Lynn and Molina having trouble getting on the same page. Well, Ike was up there swinging 3-0. I mean, he's seen so many breaking balls this year. He's just trying to find himself a fastball count. I don't know if he's going to get one here on 3-2. Now the runners do go, and he does get a fastball, but he pops it up into shallow left. Long run for Holiday, and he gets there to make the catch. Trying to get back to first is Murphy, and the ball hits off the dugout as Adams was not at the bag, and the runners advance. Well, Holiday was trying to throw behind Murphy to double him off, but Adams was nowhere to be found. They're going to charge an error to Holiday, but Matt Adams just didn't know what was going on.
Well, he fell asleep over there at first base. Murphy got all the way to second base. Holiday realized it. He was yelled at by his shortstop for a call, takes a shot, but Adams just fell asleep.
It's like they teach you in Little League. There's no such job as I'm not supposed to do anything on the play.
That's right.
I mean, he has no other responsibility on that play other than to be there to take that throw. Mike Matheny's on his way out to the mound.
Well, he's running out. This has got to be a strategic talk, I would think, from Matheny, asking his pitcher, does he want to put the batter Quintanilla on first base and pitch to Tolle, or go right after him?
I mean, Josh Tolle, the master of the infield hit.
Yeah, Ralph Garr would be happy with the day that Josh Tolle's having today.
100 pitches for Lynn. He had a lot of pitches to make early in this game, and it has built up on him. He's averaged almost 6.5 innings per start, so it's not been a 5-and-fly guy. This may be a different kind of a day for Lynn, who is tied for the league lead in wins. Let's watch Adams and where he went on this play.
Well, he's just watching the action, just like we are up here, not paying attention to what could happen. He had to see that Murphy was so far up the base.
You know what he was doing, though? He was, in his mind, moving a step to his right to back up a potential throw to second
base. Well,
but there was no play at second.
Yeah,
the play was at first.
Well, you could tell that David was going to certainly get back. It was the Murphy who got too far off.
So 2 in scoring position for Quintanilla, who's been hit by a pitch and struck out today, 0 for 1. And Omar takes low and inside, a ball and a strike.
This is a huge at bat by Quintanilla. This could give the breathing room that RA would need.
Tolle would be next.
You got to think in these instances when you're a hitter, think ahead of the pitcher. Base open, you're going to see a lot of breaking balls.
And there's one, but it misses. 2-1.
In a regular at bat, you might say to yourself, okay, I'm a 7th place hitter. I just came up from the minor league. Should get a fastball here by the hard throwing Lynn. Might see another breaking ball.
And the fastball misses, and now he's behind 3-1. In Washington, where they got rained out last night, Jesus Flores just homered off Brandon Beachy. And the Nats lead the Braves 1-0. They've got Strasburg going today. And he has held the Braves without a run through 6. Now it's 3-1 to Quintanilla. And that's ball 4. Now the bases are loaded for Tolley. So now the question is, will Lance Lynn get another batter? And the answer apparently is no. So Mike Matheny's coming out. Looks like he's going to make a double switch. And Lynn's afternoon has come to an end after 4 2/3. He issued his 4th walk of the day to Quintanilla to load him up for Tolley. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios. For America's fastest, most consistent, most reliable internet, Victor Marte coming on for the Cardinals. We'll be right back. Daniel Descalza moves from second base to first base. Tyler Green comes in to play second. He'll bat 9th. And the new pitcher, Victor Marte, will hit 7th as Matt Adams comes out of the game.
Was in the Royals organization, also pitched in Hiroshima in Japan. Victor Marte, 31 years old, pitched 4 days ago against the Braves, went 2 innings with 3 strikeouts.
Chance for Tolley to add to the Mets' 3-0 lead. Bases loaded, 2 out. And Josh takes the breaking ball for a strike. Tolley's been up twice, has 2 infield hits, a dribbler to the right side into no man's land, and then a single to deep short. Right at third, Murphy at second, and Quintanilla at first with 2 down. Marte in relief of Lance Lynn, who lasted just 4 2/3 today. And it's hit to second base right at Green, just into the game. And he tosses out Tolley, and the Mets strand 3. Dickey back to the mound for the 6th inning. Mets still with a 3-0 lead. All right, Dickey has been splendid. He and Santana combined have not allowed a run in over 31 innings. 18 scoreless for Santana, 13 1/3 for Dickey.
Talk about a number 1 and 1A. Oh, look at that.
That's very nice. Somebody involved in the scoreboard operations last night came up with that in a hurry, and that's what they flashed up on the message boards after Johan was done last night. Nohan. Very creative. Shane Robinson leads off the 6th inning. Robinson has one of the 3 hits for the Cardinals, a single to right in the 3rd. Since then, Dickey's retired 8 in a row. He's gotten a couple of double play grounders today. And Robinson bounces one right over the bag. That's a fair ball down the line. And Robinson, with tremendous speed, will easily make it to second base with the Cardinals' 2nd double of the day. 4 hits now off Dickey.
Well, as true as day. When you waste opportunities, it seems like the opposing team comes right back at you. Nice hitting there by Robinson. With his speed, David had to be even with the bag and in, and it cost him as Robinson pushed that ball past him.
So now Tyler Green, who came into the double switch in the last half inning, batting 9th in the order. Green played second base yesterday, went 0 for 3, struck out twice against Santana. He was the guy who hit the fly ball in the 8th inning that resulted in the near collision between Nieuwenhuis and Quintanilla that Nieuwenhuis was able to snag. Rafael Furcal waiting on deck. So the Cardinals getting the leadoff man on for the 2nd time against Dickey. Remember, Beltran doubled back in the 2nd to lead off. Got to 3rd with 1 out, but Dickey got a double play ball to get out of that jam. Mark McGwire hasn't seen his hitters do much in this series. There's a strike with a flutter ball, 2-1. They still have 2 hitting coaches with the Cardinals?
Well, they did before. Mike Aldretti was the left-handed hitting coach, but now he's the bench coach.
Well, I guess the good thing is they don't have a whole lot of left-handed hitting, so they shouldn't suffer too badly. Beltran's doing pretty well by himself. Of course, you know, he gets to work with both hitting coaches.
That's right.
Now it's 2-2 to Green, and he got him. So after falling behind 2-0, Dickey comes back with 3 knucklers to get Green for his 5th strikeout.
Well, great pitching. Look at the grip there by R.A. The 2 fingers, the finger and the thumb, to really the rudder or guide of the baseball, and then of course the fingertips to flick it at the hitter.
You know, I've seen a lot of catchers over the years close their eyes when they catch the ball, but it's got to be harder when you're catching a knuckleball since you don't know what direction it's going in. Here's Rafael Furcal, who's grounded out twice and takes the big rip, knocks the mask right off Tolley's head.
The only time I've ever heard of the catcher, he was with the Mets for a short period of time, Kelly Stinnett. He said in spring training he would just work on keeping his eyes open when the ball came. It would take him usually a week to 10 days.
Little fly ball, shallow left, long run in for Neuenhuis, and he'll get there for the second out. So after the leadoff double, now 2 out.
Neuenhuis, because he's such a big athlete, he has some serious closing speed. You know, once he gets going, he gets it up in the top gear pretty quickly.
So 2 out now. Descalso, who's been up twice and struck out both times against Dickey. As far as we can determine, Daniel Descalso is the first player from University of California at Davis, position player, ever to make it to the major leagues. Not exactly a baseball powerhouse. Toward the middle of the diamond, Murphy lays out to smother. It has no play, but did his job keeping it on the infield to keep a run from scoring. Nicely done by Murphy.
Way to go, Murph. Attention to detail. These are the little things that can save a pitcher. Gives R.A. Dickey another chance to get out of this inning. Seen a lot of infielders in my day kind of lay that into the outfield, cost you a run. Not Murph, hustling all the time.
So the Cardinals with a big opportunity here. Matt Holliday, the tying run at the plate in a 3-0 game. Flied out and grounded out 0 for 2. And Holliday swings over the knuckler. 0-1. Holliday with 10 home runs, 34 runs batted in this year, for a St. Louis team that has more home runs and a higher batting average than any team in the National League. You can see the career numbers for Holliday, who first established himself in Colorado, and he takes another big rip, and it's 0-2.
Boy, it's interesting and mercurial how that knuckleball is. This inning is the first inning that it hasn't been knuckling as much. Holliday missed that, but he was on it.
Now Dickey ahead 0-2. Strike 3 call. Holliday thought it was up. Lance Barksdale said it was a strike. Dickey has his 6th of the day, and he works out of another jam in the 6th inning. 6 scoreless for Dickey in a 3-0 Met lead. It's been a frustrating couple of days for the Cardinal hitters, and Matt Holliday taking a 3rd strike that he thought was high.
Yeah, I thought it was high also. You know, in today's game, you know, they always say it's from the knees to the numbers. That's really not the case. Usually it's just where that 7 is of Holliday is usually where he'll get that strike.
So R.A. Dickey getting the benefit of that call, promptly bangs one down to 3rd, where David Freese makes the play. 1 pitch and 1 out for Victor Marte in the home 6th. And so Dickey can go and rest.
Well, I thought it was interesting last night, the Santana at bat, right? Where he's up and he just had no interest in swinging the bat, doing anything, and still almost managed to walk.
It's in the bottom of the 8th. Yeah, I thought he should have swung at that last pitch just to be sure. So 1 out. Here's Kirk Neuenhuis, who's 0 for 3, drove in a run with the 2nd inning ground out. Mets got all 3 of their runs in the 2nd, all on ground balls to the infield. Well, Dickey's had a couple of jams to work out of today, and yet he's only thrown 64 pitches through 6 innings, helping himself once again by not walking anybody. So in his last 3 starts now, he has 27 strikeouts and 1 walk. I mean, when you look at knuckleballers through the years,
yeah,
you can look at varying levels of success, but I don't think you've ever seen a strikeout to walk ratio from a knuckleballer like that.
No, they all are in between the 3.5 and 4.5 walks per game.
Well, he had the 11 strikeouts in Pittsburgh, a career high. Followed that up with 10 in that last start against San Diego. But now, facing a far better offensive team, has just continued the trend. Andres Torres on deck. Well, Dickey came into the day at 7-1. Lance Lynn came into the day at 8-1. Lynn exiting in the 5th, and Dickey working on a shutout through 6. Off-speed pitch from Marte, misses 2-2. Lynn went 4 2/3, allowed 3 runs, 2 of them earned on 5 hits. 4 walks hurt him. 3 strikeouts and a hit batsman. Two from Marte, and Neuenhuis fouls off the fastball. Victor Marte's career got off to a slow start. He was actually suspended, or actually technically on the restricted list, for 4 years for a contract violation coming out of the Dominican, and then had to go to Japan to pitch before he could finally pitch in this country. So he's 31 years old and just getting started. And he blows away Neuenhuis for the 2nd out of the inning. First strikeout for Marte in relief.
Well, the Achilles heel for Neuenhuis, that pitch up in the strike zone. It's got a real kind of flattish swing that is good for the ball down in the strike zone, not up.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Andres Torres has grounded out 3 times. He drove in a run with his 2nd inning ground out, and he tries to bunt his way on and misses. David Wright would be next. In Washington, Steven Strasburg now has 7 scoreless innings under his belt. 1-0 Washington leading Atlanta in the bottom of the 7th. The National League East right now, top to bottom, is separated by 2.5 games.
Yeah.
The Phillies are in last place, 3 games over 500, and only 2.5 games out of first. Hanley Ramirez has 2 home runs for the Marlins tonight, and they've got a 5-3 lead in the 7th in Philly.
Off Hamels.
1-2 to Torres. Phillies got another blow to their bullpen last night. Jose Contreras had to leave the game, hurt his elbow again, and they expect him to go back on the DL. Contreras is interesting because whenever he's healthy, it's effective.
Yeah, he's unhittable.
It's just hard to keep him on the field. Breaking ball fouled off. Well, the Nats have lost 3 straight to come back to the pack a little bit. And there are the Mets tied for 2nd, just a game out. Mets today trying to get to 7 games over 500 for the first time in 2 years. It has been a remarkable first couple of months. 1-2 to Torres, and he lines one over the head of Green and into right center. Torres takes a turn and slams on the brakes. He's got a 2-out single.
Trying to come inside with a little cutter fastball back over the middle of the plate. Jams Torres just enough, but strong enough, kind of float this ball over the head of Green.
So the Mets have a 2-out base runner. That gets David Wright to the plate with a man on. David has doubled and walked today, 1 for 2. David now has drawn 35 walks, which puts him 2nd in the National League. That's why he has that .471 on base percentage, which is the best in the league. The interesting thing will be to see if Duda, who has all of a sudden started to hit some home runs the last couple of days, can stay hot for a while, whether David will draw fewer walks.
You know, we've seen Lucas. It's intoxicating to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And early in the year, he hit a couple home runs, and he had trouble really putting the ball in play for a while. So he's such a big, strong guy. Hitter first, power second.
They're the walks leaders in the National League. So Wright is 2nd in walks to Votto. He's 2nd in doubles to Votto. What do you think David would do playing in that bandbox in Cincinnati?
Oh, gee. Every fly ball to right field be out of the ballpark.
Marte ahead of him 0-2. And he hits a slow ground ball. Green waits for it. That retires the side. So Marte throws a scoreless inning. We've played 6 now. R.A. Dickey working on a shutout as we head to the 7th. Well, not surprisingly, there was one subject that dominated the back pages of the tabloids this morning. Bet you can't believe what it is. It's a lot of amazing. A little bit of yes. Thought there'd be something a little more creative working with Johan's name, like Nohan.
Come on, News. You can't have the picture with the whipped cream on his face.
I'll blame Justin Turner for that. Carlos Beltran takes ball 1 as we start the 7th. Beltran double to left center and fouled out to the catcher, 1 for 2. Dickey's given up 5 hits, but no walks over the first 7. And Beltran badly fooled by that knuckler, 1-1. Beltran, Freese, and Molina for the Cardinals in the 7th. The Cardinals have now gone 16 straight innings without scoring, going back to their game Wednesday in Atlanta. And that one got on the fists of Beltran. That's 1-2. It's funny how stories change quickly. Yesterday, before the game, all the focus was on Beltran and his return to New York.
Yeah.
Now it's almost an afterthought.
Well, they asked him if he wanted to come back and, like Darryl Strawberry did when he went to the Dodgers, come back and hit a home run in his first visit back to Citi Field.
Murphy playing on the outfield grass is there to throw out Beltran one away.
And like a good forecaster, he said, you know what, facing a pretty good pitcher. Well, he was pretty good last night.
Well, Santana was unbelievable last night, and Dickey has just been his solid self today. This is the way it's been going for RA as he gets set to face David Freese. His last 7 starts, 5-0, 2.09. He's just on a tremendous roll and just seems to be getting better and better. David Freese foul tips one. Remember last year, Dickey got off to a slow start, and it wasn't really until the weather got warmer and coincidentally, when he hurt his foot in Chicago, that he really kick-started his season. That was about the middle of May. This year, other than the one bobble in Atlanta, he's been a winning type pitcher every time he's gone to the mound.
And unlike last year, where no luck came his way, remember the start in Pittsburgh, he came out tied and the Mets scored a couple of runs. So things have been coming his way. He's gotten some fine defensive plays. I mean, the last inning we talked about Murphy diving, keeping that ball in the infield, strikes out Halladay to keep it scoreless.
And Freese swings and misses 0-2. It's been a big year for Dickey in so many ways. You have the publication of his book, his climbing of Mount Kilimanjaro, the documentary about knuckleballers that featured him prominently. But he's kept his eye on his craft. You know, a lot of times players can get distracted by stuff that goes on off the field. But I think what's unique about RA is that as the attention has come his way and potential distractions have presented themselves, he's only refined his craft more. There's the very slow knuckler inside.
Yeah, he does better, I think, with all the attention. I think it keeps him going. He is not an idle man.
In the air to shallow right, and Duda is there. And of course, the other piece of that is that success has not come easily for him. And because of that, he has taken absolutely nothing for granted.
Well, it's precious to him, and he puts a lot of thought into that knuckleball and his chance at a second career here, a second chance at his career.
Here's Molina, who has one of the 5 hits for the Cardinals today. And he grounds one toward the middle. Long way to go for Quintanilla. Smothers, turns, fires. Got him! Fantastic play by Omar Quintanilla to get Molina and end the inning. Quintanilla laying out, and that's where the play began. A strong throw. Quintanilla getting Molina and getting Dickey through the 7th. The Dodgers, who've lost 5 straight games, seen their league shrink to 4 games in the West, leading, and you see the games later on. Matt Cain goes after his 6th win for the Giants tonight. Giants suffered a potentially big loss last night. You know, Brian Wilson's out for the season. Santiago Casilla has been doing a very nice job filling in for him, but Santiago Casilla left with an apparent knee injury last night in the Giants' victory over the Cubs. Lucas Duda smacks one toward the middle, and he's got a base hit. So Duda leads off the home 7th with his first hit of the day. 5 hits in his last 10 at-bats.
Well, it's not the first pitch, but it's second pitch hitting here by Lucas Duda. Doesn't get all of that off the end of the bat, but well placed.
So Daniel Murphy will step in. You mentioned the Dodgers have lost 5 straight. Chris Capuano finally had a bad start last night.
It's Colorado, doesn't count.
Swipe it out of your memory bank.
Yeah, it doesn't count.
Gave up 7 runs and a 13-3 loss.
Mexico City, Chile, Toronto. Not Toronto after the last thing. Colorado, I mean.
Kind of like it's Chinatown, Jake.
It's exactly.
Ike Davis on deck. Murphy 1 for 3 today. Single to left his last time up. It's now 7 hits on the afternoon. But the Mets have left 9 runners on base through the first 6 innings. Most notably in the 5th when they left them loaded. Marte came in with the bases loaded and got totally to ground out, and he's been in ever since. Meanwhile, Dickey still with a very low pitch count, 75 pitches through 7 innings as he's working on a shutout. Now Marte ahead 0-2, and Murphy slaps one the other way, and he's got a base hit. Hits off the tarp, so Duda stops, now turns and heads for third. The throw coming in from Holiday, not in time, and Murphy able to follow into second base. Daniel Murphy on 0-2, taking one the other way.
There's a lot of things you can do to Murph 0-2. Pitching him away is not one of them. You can see the little half swing guiding that ball down the line. And nice job by Lucas Duda. Aggressive, pushing the envelope. And once he gets going, he runs pretty well.
There was that moment's hesitation as he came around second, just trying to gauge where Holiday was. I don't know if they're going to give Murph a single or a double on this, but that's good base running all the way around by the Mets. So second and third and nobody out. Mike Matheny on his way to the mound. He's got Eduardo Sanchez in the bullpen. They have only one lefty in that Cardinal bullpen. They're going to bring in the right-hander here, Sanchez. So the Mets with a 3-0 lead and looking for more. The call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Fios for America's fastest, most consistent, most reliable internet. 3-0 Mets. We'll be right back. Daniel Murphy, an expert at reaching out and touching one.
Well, it's almost like he's just pushing that ball down the line. And the worst that can happen is if it goes foul. But with the defense that they play against him, and I don't know why they play him to pull, it's hitting it against the defense.
23-year-old Eduardo Sanchez comes on in relief for the Cardinals.
Well, this young man has an unbelievable arm, throws in the mid-90s. And he's a guy that probably would have made their playoff roster last year. Only appeared in 26 games, but he had some shoulder soreness at the end of the year.
Pitched in 26 games for the Cardinals last season. He's been a reliever throughout his career. By the way, they did score a double for Murphy. He's at second, Duda at third with nobody out. Mets have left 9 runners on base, trying to do some damage here against the Cardinal bullpen that has really been struggling. The St. Louis bullpen, the first month of the season, was a strong point, but Fernando Salas, who served as their closer last year, faltered and got sent to the minors. J.C. Romero, who was their second lefty, got released, and the guys who remained had a very, very rough month of May.
Well, Ike's had a base hit. He worked a nice walk after being down 0-2. Time for him to pop one, get something going.
Infield in for the Cardinals, second and third, and nobody out. And Davis hits one foul. Ike is 1 for 2 on the day. Got the Mets started in the second inning with a hard base hit to right. Mets scored all 3 runs in the second, but they've bypassed some opportunities since. Looking to tack on and make Dickey's work a little easier over the last 2 innings. And the breaking ball from Sanchez, and a good one to get ahead 0-2.
Great movement on his fastball, and when he's getting this pitcher over, doubly difficult.
Now he's ahead on Davis 0-2. And Ike waving feebly at the slider, and he goes down on strikes. So Sanchez comes in very impressively and strikes out Davis on 3 pitches.
Well, the theme of this game for the Mets offense is the ability to put balls in play with 2 strikes. Ike not able to do that there.
So here's Quintanilla, who's been on base twice with a walk and a hit by pitch. He scored a run and also made a tremendous defensive play on the top of this inning. Well, it's essential that the Mets get something out of this after second and third and nobody out. And you're going to walk Quintanilla intentionally. Now, in the 5th inning with second and third and 2 out, they pitched very carefully to Omar, walked him, filled the bases, and got out of the jam. So they are feeling more comfortable, at least Mike Matheny is, pitching to Josh Thole today.
This young man's hitting 95 on the gun and walking guys. Shit, never seen anyone throw the ball that hard.
Well, you know, some guys, when they lollipop it on that intentional walk, they're not quite sure where it's going.
I've never seen this.
Well, it reminds me of Sean Dunston, who would throw maximum effort to first base on the most routine plays.
So they had 1 speed then.
So the Mets have the bases loaded for the second time in the last 3 innings. And again, it's Thole who gets a crack at it. Josh with a pair of infield hits today. He scored a run. Duda at third, Murphy at second, Quintanilla at first with 1 out.
There's a defense in the infield, pinched really in the corners, but double play depth up the middle. I think it's the right play, Gary, by Matheny here. Josh, of course, a good hitter, but doesn't have a lot of speed.
And just his second game back from 3 weeks on the disabled list. And Thole fouls one at the plate. 96 from Sanchez to start him off. All right, Dickey has not yet come out on deck. Oh, there he is. He was hiding. I didn't see him down there. Just taking a break. Just hanging out in the corner. He is different.
Well, what's interesting is when you stand on the on-deck circle, Gary, you'd be surprised at how many fans, as you see that slider down and in, makes Thole get out of the way. Late breaker, just missing the toe of Thole. You'd be surprised at how many people in the front couple rows want to have a conversation with him.
Well, we saw it earlier this season with Joey Votto and Keith.
Exactly.
except it was Votto who initiated the conversation. Thole fouls one at the plate, 1 and 2.
So if you duck down, they can only see the helmet. And you have Time to reflect.
As long as they can't reach through the screen and tap you on the head.
That's
Well, Sanchez already has one strikeout in the inning after coming in with second and third and nobody out. Now he's ahead on Tolle 1-2 with Dickey on deck, and RA's staying in. So this is a huge pitch right here. And Tolle hits one slowly. Green's coming home with it just in time for the force play, and that's all they'll get. So Duda is forced out at the plate for the second out.
What a nice play by Tyler Green. This is a hard decision. He had a chance to maybe tag the runner. Quintanilla coming for the double play, decides the better ways to go home and makes a strong, accurate throw for the force. That's a tough little play. There's a lot of things coming together there for Green, and he makes the right choice. Quintanilla, he's got to throw it over the pitcher's head, make an accurate throw to Molina.
I think if it's not the pitcher coming up next, the better play might be to try and tag the runner and go for the double play. But with the pitcher coming up, you're better off cutting down the lead runner and take your chances. Dickey's 0 for 2 today. Then that goes to the backstop. Here comes Murphy. Molina's throw not in time. 4-0 New York.
Well, big run there. We don't see that very often with Molina, but I always talk about when a catcher calls a fastball and they just spike it in the ground. Sometimes it's the hardest pitch because the catcher doesn't expect a fastball to be in the dirt. Murphy with the good jump. Good jump there by Murph. You only can get a jump like that when you expect the ball to get past the catcher.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, Ronnie, as you see the play at the plate. But with a runner at third, 2 out, and the pitcher at the plate, you can't throw a wild pitch.
That's right.
I mean, really.
Yep.
1-2 to RA.
I think that's what happened to Molina. He probably thought that he was just going to come down the middle with 95-mile-an-hour fastball. But you know what happens to young pitchers out there? They get anxiety too.
Well, he's a pitcher of great talent. You can see that from his stuff, but that was a big mistake by young Eduardo Sanchez, and it cost his team a run. 1-2 to Dickey with 2 in scoring position and 2 out. And RA taps one down to first, and Descalzo makes the flip to Sanchez to end the inning. But the Mets scratch out another run. 4 runs today. They haven't exactly pounded the ball, but they've got a 4-0 lead for Dickey. Well, what started out as kind of a nasty looking day has turned into a beauty in New York. What better than looking up over the bridges across to the Empire State?
Nice.
And into Citi Field, where the tour of Citi Field is brought to you by Citi, the official sponsor of Team USA, together every step of the way. Well, we mentioned it early today, the difference in energy here at Citi Field in the wake of the Johan Santana drought-busting no-hitter last night. And you can feel it in the ballpark today in support of R.A. Dickey as the Mets look for back-to-back complete game shutouts. Are able to keep his pitch count low all afternoon. Adrian Chambers will lead off for the Cardinals in the 8th inning, pinch hitting for the pitcher. Remember Chambers late last season when the Cardinals were staging their uphill fight trying to get to the postseason, had an enormous hit against the Mets. A pinch hit, bases loaded triple. And the knuckleball in for a strike 0-2.
He came up late, had 2 or 3 game-winning hits for the Cardinals as they were chasing down the Braves.
Yeah, he only had 3 hits last season, but every one of them was huge.
Saw a picture there of Mark McGwire. I saw McGwire once in an Oakland A's uniform hit 3 straight pitches. First pitches off Zane Smith in Boston for home runs in his first 3 at-bats. Most amazing thing I've ever seen.
Chambers down on strikes. That's 7 for Dickey. Making 28 strikeouts and 1 walk in his last 3 starts.
It's just dancing. He's dancing for 2 hours now.
Well, the most amazing thing I ever saw McGwire do was at Shea Stadium. He hit a home run to right center field. And if you remember the old scoreboard at Shea Stadium, you had the Mets line up down the right side of the scoreboard and the visitors line up down the left side of the scoreboard, well out in left center.
Yes.
He hit it off the cleanup hitter. Like right center, but further over toward right center.
Okay, I got you.
He hit it off the cleanup hitter on the visitors lineup. Think about that. I mean, it had to be 480 feet to the opposite field.
Unbelievable. 49 home runs in his rookie year.
That's when he was skinny.
Yeah, right. Right next to him, to camera left, his right, Mike Aldretti. That's the bench coach. San Francisco Giants, Oakland A's, Los Angeles Angels.
Did you just say camera left?
Yes.
Shane Robinson down on strikes. That's 8 for Dickey. TV guy, huh?
No.
That's good.
Aldo, one of the great guys. Stanford product.
Well, Dickey rolling right along. 2 out and nobody on in the 8th. And now here's Tyler Green, who struck out and is only at bat in the 6th. R.A. Dickey going after his 8th win of the season today. Last year he had 8 wins all year in 32 starts.
Now we got 5 more weeks to go. 6 weeks to go. But boy, he's making a run for throwing in that classic, the All-Star game.
Well, he certainly is a prime candidate to be on the team. I mean, you'd have to think he'll be among the candidates to start the game.
Yeah. You throw a knuckleball out there and then bring all the guys who throw 100. That'd be great.
One-two to Green. He struck him out. Dickey strikes out the side in the 8th inning. 9 strikeouts for R.A. Chambers, Robinson, and Green go down. It's 4-0 New York in the 8th. That's at the top of the batting order up in the bottom of the 8th, leading 4-0. Kirk Neuenhuis 0 for 4 today, but he drove in a run with a 2nd inning ground out. Mets got 3 in the 2nd, all on ground balls, and they got a run in the 7th on a wild pitch. It's been a slugfest.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Whatever it takes. You know, whatever it takes. When you don't have your hitting shoes on, manufacture some runs.
Well, meanwhile, R.A. Dickey sitting in the dugout, preparing to go to the mound for the 9th inning. 97 pitches under his belt. Now, what did you ask Terry Collins about Dickey's pitch count today?
Well, that was just, Terry talked about how he had kind of pinned himself in a corner with Santana using the number of 115. So when we had our scrum this morning, I said I just wanted to ask him if they had a pitch count for R.A. Dickey today, which drew some laughs in the crowd.
Well, the last time the Mets had back-to-back complete game shutouts, it was 2 years ago, August of 2010 against Colorado, as they sit right back to Boggs, and Neuenhuis is retired. And not surprisingly, the last back-to-back shutouts in 2010, Santana and Dickey.
Oh, okay.
And they have a chance for that today. New York Mets baseball is brought to you by Bank of America.
That's what you'll see. Starting pitchers always have a baseball in their hand. Manipulating it, trying to find different ways to grip the ball. They're working on a split finger, I guess, right now.
Andres Torres takes a strike. Torres 1 for 4 today. He's driven in a run. After throwing that many pitches, do you think Santana would go play catch today or just take it completely easy?
Today might be a day you might take off. I always like to throw the day after, but coming off surgery, it might be a good day to do a lot of the things. They have a lot of band work. They have a lot of lightweight work that they do to build up the muscles around the shoulder, front and back. Those are things you do every day.
David Wright waiting on deck. Meanwhile, Dickey will not only be bidding for a shutout, he'll also be bidding for another double-digit strikeout game. He's had 2 straight, and he has 9 strikeouts today. You know the last time the Mets had a pitcher throw 3 straight double-digit strikeout game? 1992, David Cone.
Oh, George. Nice.
That makes Coney's 1992 season the answer to a trivia question 2 days in a row.
Yep.
Because he's also the last Met to throw back-to-back shutouts before Santana did it in his last 2 starts.
He's pretty good, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. Unfortunately, that 92 season was the year he was traded.
That's right. He went to the Blue Jays.
Helped them to their first of 2 straight World Series titles.
Well, we played. I was with Oakland at the time. Played against the Blue Jays in the League Championship Series, and I remember David and I would go out to dinner when we could in Toronto and Oakland and reminisce about our days in the orange and blue.
Remember who the Mets got in their trade for David Cone? Strike 3 called.
Jeff Kent.
Jeff Kent and Ryan Thompson. Jeff's a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Just not for the Mets. Play of the game brought to you by Mazda and the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway miles per gallon.
What a play there by Quintanilla. You and I were talking about not only how he went after the ball, but how quickly he could get up and fire a strike. Built low to the ground as Quintanilla.
Tremendous range on that play as well. So 2 out now. David Wright. A double back in the first, a walk in the 5th, 1 for 3 on the day. And David smacks one to right field. Beltran back to the warning track at the wall. It's out of here. David Wright with an opposite field home run. His 6th home run of the season, and it's 5-0 New York.
The biggest thing that has happened since the dimensions have been changed, when the big boys connect, the ball goes out of the ballpark. There's no ifs, maybes, could it. When they connect, the ball goes out.
Well, that was in the ballpark last year, out of the ballpark this year. Here's Lucas Duda, ball 1.
You know, he just has such tremendous power to right field for a right-handed hitter. The most since Mike Piazza in a Mets uniform.
Duda's 1 for 3 and a walk today. So Wright, with that home run, scores his 734th run. He's now just 1 behind Jose Reyes for the Mets' career runs scored record. 1 more notch on the belt. Maybe coming tomorrow. Mets have now homered in 5 straight games, their longest home run streak of the season. Duda, a big part of that. With 2 home runs on Wednesday and another one last night. And now Wright with his 6th.
And a beautiful day, nice and cool here. It's going to be interesting for me to see how this ballpark plays when we get into July and August, where it's 85 plus every day.
That humidity, ball usually carries better. Strike 3 called. Duda out on strikes to end the inning, but the Mets tack on a run as David Wright goes the other way and takes one deep. Number 6 on the year for Wright. That's a New City home run. Dickey takes a shutout to the 9th, 5-0 New York. When your teammate threw a no-hitter the night before, well, you do what R.A. Dickey has done. You make quick work of the Cardinals all afternoon. Not a no-hit bid, but Santana appreciative of what he's seen as Furcal tries to butt his way on, and Wright with a terrific play, but off the bag came Ike. And Furcal is safe with a bunt single. That was as good a play as a third baseman can make on that ball from a guy who's still fast at age 34 for Call.
Well, nice play by David. And what happens is that Ike tries to cheat here and try to get the call from the umpire, Culbreth. See how he comes off the bag, and he didn't need to. And I thought but that he might have been on the bag. No, he's off. He's off. So trying to cheat cost him there because he didn't have to.
Barely had the toe off. So it's the 6th hit for the Cardinals, and now Daniel Descalso takes ball 1. Descalso had an infield single in the 6th inning, but on that play Murphy saved a run by smothering it and kept Robinson from scoring from second base. That's the closest the Cardinals have come to scoring.
Well, R.A.'s a good fielder. Almost gets in the way here. Has to get down. He wanted that first man out. Always huge in these attempts at shutouts.
Line the other way, and that's a base hit for Descalso. And now the shutout very much in jeopardy. First and second and nobody out with Holiday and Beltran coming up.
Well, this is what you usually see from teams that try to be effective against the knuckleball, is that you go the other way.
Well, you mentioned the last time the Mets got back-to-back shutouts, it was Santana and Dickey. That was Dickey's one hitter against the Phillies when Cole Hamels had the only hit against him 2 years ago. So here's Holiday 0 for 3, and he takes a strike. Holiday's flied out, grounded out, and taking a call third strike. Moaned about the third strike call that appeared to be high. That ended the 6th inning with runners at first and third.
He didn't like that one either.
Frank Francisco staying busy in the bullpen for New York. It's been a lonely place, that bullpen. Popped up. Tolle coming back, hoping for a play, but it's back in the crowd.
But we already have a pop to the catcher in this game with Tolle. That's one more than we usually have here at this ballpark.
With Beltran to end the 4th inning. There's so little room behind home plate before you get to the stands. Vercal at second, Descalso at first with nobody out. 0-2 to Holiday. And he just got a piece of it to stay in the at-bat. The hard knuckler from Dickey almost eluded him. Carlos Beltran waiting on deck.
Good job Josh Tolle's done today, huh? I mean, when you have a knuckleball where you know it's got to be effective to have 8 shutout innings or 8 scoreless innings, you've got to have a guy behind there doing a good job of catching it.
Double play ball. Quintanilla on the backhand. Murphy with the turn. Double play. 2 out. Third double play of the day turned by the Mets infield. And the Cardinals are down to their final out.
The ball was hit on the nose. You've got to really appreciate the defensive wizardry of Quintanilla. Okay, it took him a little bit of time to get that out of his glove, but it was a fine backhand play. And nice job here by Murphy, taking the hit and delivering it to first base. Good
hard slide by Descalso. Now Beltran, the final hope for the Cardinals. 2 out and Vercal at third. Beltran double to left center in the second. Since then he's fouled out and grounded out. Right playing off the line so Vercal can wander off third. And Beltran takes one low for ball 1. R.A. Dickey bidding for his 3rd career shutout. What a stretch of games. Here's a strike. 1-1. David Freese would be next. And Beltran lays off. 2-1. Dickey has not walked a batter today. In fact, it's the first 3-ball count he's had all afternoon. His 100th pitch. And Beltran socks it to right. Dude is right there. And the ball game is over. After a no-hitter by his teammate Santana last night, Dickey follows it up with a shutout of his own. The Mets have back-to-back shutouts for the first time in 2 years. Dickey's 3rd career shutout, and the Mets with as impressive a 24 hours of pitching as they've had in a long time win it 5-0.